Section 1. Who is this loud honking Frenchman anyway? He is a Paris-Roubaix winner, an ex-pro cyclist, long-time team boss of Groupama FDJ, and apparently now the self-appointed chief officer of cyclist safety, morality, and analog simplicity. We love a career pivot. You might remember him from his operatic yelling at Thibaut Pinot and the Tourmalet, or maybe from his consistent yearly complaints about everything modern: radios, power meters, disc brakes, carbon wheels, time trial helmets, lycra, and probably electricity itself. Marc Madiot is the guy who brings a rotary phone to a smartphone convention and insists it's better because it builds character. But now, Madiot is making headlines for a truly noble cause, yelling about safety. And how does he plan to improve safety? By stripping cyclists of every piece of modern technology that might help them not crash. You see, when Mark says safety, what he really means is pain and vibes, preferably cobbled. Let's dig into this analog manifesto. Section 2. The War on Wires. Madiot declares radios on power meters dangerous. So, here's what Madiot thinks is making cycling dangerous. Not the motorcycles weaving through pelotons, not the sponsors' SUVs parking on corners, not the inflatable arches that collapse mid-race, and definitely not the goat track descents in torrential rain. No, the real menace: race radios and power meters. He told French outlet Quest France, quote, "We must take care of our riders. Today, they are so focused on their data and their radios that they lose sight of the race, of the environment around them. That's dangerous. We should get rid of them." Source: Quest France, June 2024 interview. Yes, because in a sport where riders are going downhill at 90 km an hour in a pack of 180 men rubbing shoulders, the thing that's really making them crash is knowing their heart rate. Madiot's argument is that riders are too disconnected from the race. They're listening to instructions through earpieces and staring at wattage numbers, which allegedly leads to poor bike handling. This might sound valid if you hadn't seen half the peloton bunny hopping curbs on one hand while adjusting their sunglasses with the other. But sure, it's the power meter's fault. This isn't a new rant for Madiot, who's been trying to bring back the cassette era of cycling since the early 2000s. But this time, he's waving the safety flag, not the nostalgia flag. Radios and power meters, he insists, create a kind of, quote, robotic racing, where riders ignore their instincts, and by extension, ignore potholes, traffic islands, and the occasional livestock. A quote from Madiot again, quote, "We need to make racing more human. Riders should use their brains, not computers." Because if there's anything that screams human, it's sending a man up the Tourmalet in 35-degree heat with no info, no data, and no idea where the descent begins. Section 3. Tadej Pogačar beeps back. Enter Tadej Pogačar, cycling's favourite prodigy, who has somehow become the voice of reason in a sport where reason usually takes the team car off a cliff. Pogačar, who has been known to ride away from everyone on both cobbles and mountains, was asked about Madiot's comments during a press conference at the 2025 Criterium de Dauphiné. Quote, "It's easy to blame radios and power meters, but honestly, I think they make racing safer. I don't look at my power during a sprint, but it's useful to know when you're overheating or pacing on a long climb." Source: Cycling Weekly, May 2025. Then he added, with a kind of tone usually reserved for people explaining TikTok to their grandparents, quote, "Removing technology won't make riders crash less, maybe more. It's not 1985 anymore." Let's just take a moment to appreciate the subtle savagery of that last line. It's not 1985 anymore. That's Slovenian for "please stop yelling at clouds." Pogačar also raised a fair point. race radios help with real-time safety. If there's a crash up ahead, road furniture, or a neutralized zone, the information gets relayed instantly. Without radios, you're relying on race signs and hand signals. We know how reliable they are, which, as any fan of retro cycling chaos knows, are about as effective as Morse code sent from a speeding moped. Sure, Poggy may not always need data to drop half the peloton with a smile on his face, but he's not out here advocating for racing with a sundial and a pigeon. Section 4. Maddiot's bigger mission. Back to the good old danger days. So what's the big picture here? What is Marc Maddiot really trying to do? Aside from removing every trace of progress since the invention of sliced bread, Maddiot believes cycling has become too safe in the wrong ways. Helmets, fine. Disc brakes, tolerated. But radios and power meters, dangerous. Because in his world, safety isn't about avoiding accidents. It's about riders being present, focused, and reactive. It's about feeling the race. About racing like Bernard Hinault in 81, preferably with 2 broken ribs and no food for 8 hours. There's a purity to it, sure, but also a complete disregard for the fact that the peloton is now 50% larger, the roads 30% narrower, and the race speeds 20% faster than they were in Maddiot's day. The, quote, good old days he's dreaming of included open top team cars, wool jerseys, and the occasional random train crossing. Maddiot insists, quote, the race has to be in the legs and in the head, not in the headset. Source, El Quip, April 2024. It's not that he's wrong about riders becoming robotic. We all watched the 2023 Vuelta time trial, where half the GC guys rode the exact same wattage for 58 minutes, and then ate rice cakes in the bus. But there's a safety problem. Or just a boredom problem, maybe? Maybe what Maddiot wants isn't safety, it's drama. The kind of drama where riders misjudge a corner, take the wrong descent, bonk horribly, or sprint 200 meters too early. He wants chaos, spontaneity, the kind of racing where a goat crosses the road and it could literally decide a monument. But safety, really? If anything, banning radios would make the sport more dangerous, in our opinion. Just ask any team director who's tried to coordinate a breakaway without radio contact. It's like conducting a symphony with a foghorn. In truth, what Maddiot seems to want is to de-technologize cycling back to when grit mattered more than Garmin, when riders didn't need to look at screens because they had pain and cigarette smoke. Section 5. So, are race radios the real villains here? Let's recap. Maddiot, Pogačar is puzzled, and power meters are somehow the villain of 2025. Here's the thing. Race radios can be annoying, yes. They lead to formalic tactics, and yes, some races turn into a parade of instructions. But they also save lives. In 2022, a race radio warning prevented a pile-up when a motorcycle stalled on a narrow descent. In 2023, radios helped neutralize a storm-hit stage in time to avoid sending riders into a literal tornado. But yes, let's blame them for that guy who missed the corner in Roubaix. And power meters? They're just numbers. They don't make anyone crash. If someone crashes while looking at their screen, maybe the issue isn't the tech, it's their decision making. Should we also ban sunglasses because they sometimes fog up? Meanwhile, Pogačar has clearly had enough of this debate. He's out here winning races without or with data. He's using radios not to be micromanaged, but to know when not to ride into a fallen barrier. That's not robotic, that's intelligence. It's like banning mirrors on cars because someone once adjusted them while they crashed, or before they crashed. The logic is backwards. Riders are already managing their bikes, their tactics, their nutrition, their bodily fluids even. Giving them less information doesn't make them better riders. It just makes them more likely to guess wrong at 75 km an hour. Yes, Madiot persists. He believes that removing gadgets will miraculously make riders safer, smarter, and somehow morally superior. It's a seductive fantasy, stripping cycling down to legs, lungs, and luck. But in today's peloton, that fantasy could get someone seriously hurt, in our opinion. So let's thank Madiot for his concern. Truly, it's nice that someone's thinking about safety, even if the execution involves taking away every tool that helps riders avoid road furniture and each other. And as Pogačar said, quote, "We need to talk about safety in smarter ways, not just about what to remove, but what to improve." Thanks for watching today's video. If you're new, please subscribe to stay up to date with all of my videos about cycling news, cycling drama, and cycling results. Leave a like on today's video and comment down below your opinions.